This message is a revisit of a message that I presented on March 23rd of 2014, and it's titled, Why We Hate the Rich. Why We Hate the Rich. Now, this message was the title of an article listed on the homepage of the Washington Post online edition on Thursday, March 20th, 2014. It is an attention-getting headline for many reasons, and the reasons would vary according to the consciousness of the person reading it. It is just 5 simple words filled with a tremendous amount of assumption, and I was happy to see that it was properly designated as an opinion piece, because that is what it is. It's an opinion, and one that sadly is weaving its way through the collective consciousness, that it means through the minds and the hearts of people throughout the world, especially here in the United States. Let's look at part of this opinion piece. Once again, it's a Washington Post article by Catherine Rampell. That's R-A-M-P-E-L-L. She's an opinion writer. Income inequality isn't about the rich, it's about the rest of us, she tells us. People don't hate you because you're beautiful. People hate you because they are getting uglier. Use that logic, substituting income for attractiveness, and you'll have a better grasp of why the 99.9% really resent the 0.1%. Populist rhetoric is leaving U.S. billionaires feeling persecuted, vilified, and begrudge their hard-won fortune. Quote, Ken Langone, L-A-N-G-O-N-E, the billionaire co-founder of Home Depot, and Politico, he said, if you go back to 1933 with different words, this is what Hitler was saying in Germany. You don't survive as a society if you encourage and thrive on envy or jealousy. Now, his comment echoes the reductio ad Hitlerum arguments venture capitalist Tom Perkins made in a recent Wall Street Journal letter to the editor, portending a progressive Kristallnacht. Was there a special session at Davos about Third Reich talking points? These people are going a little nuts. Yes, anti-inequality rhetoric has grown in recent years, but it's not the growing wealth of the wealthy that Americans are angry about, at least not in isolation. It's the growing wealth of the wealthy set against the stagnation or deterioration of living standards for everyone else. Polls show that Americans pretty much always want income to be distributed more equitably than it currently is, but they're more willing to tolerate inequality if they are still plugging ahead. That is, they care less about Lloyd Blankfein's gigantic bonus if they got even a tiny raise this year. In the years since the Great Recession, hostility towards inequality has again rebounded, probably also driven by concerns that the rich are moving onward and upward while everyone else is left behind. Now, that was from the Washington Post opinion piece by Catherine Rampell, R-E-M-P-E-L-L, published on Thursday, March 20th, 2014. Now, the first statement in the article also got my attention, where she wrote, people don't hate you because you're beautiful. People hate you because they are getting uglier. And then she writes, use that logic. Well, what logic? Although he has since apologized for his reference to Hitler, the billionaire co-founder of Home Depot, Ken Langone, made the statement that you don't survive as a society if you encourage and thrive on envy or jealousy. And he is right, and this is the truth for all of us. We cannot keep faith with our own personal success and financial increase when our mind is filled with contradictions. The best we will cause to happen in our experience is confusion and stagnation. We've created ourselves, and the mastermind Jesus instructed his followers to be in the world but not of the world. He was speaking to just this type of nonsense that we are hearing so much of in the world today. These type of opinion pieces spread by the mass media is part of the problem that the writers of these articles are decrying. To cause people to believe that someone else is responsible for our living standards or financial struggle only increases our struggle rather than offering real solutions. If we foster the idea in our mind that someone else being wealthy and successful prevents us from realizing our own success and wealth, then we are believing in a limitation and an obstruction, and we shall find ourselves limited and obstructed, because the Spirit that is always seeking to give to us must work through us, must work through our beliefs, must work through our consciousness of knowing and understanding that God and God alone is our source. This is a hard truth. Ralph Waldo Treen writes of this in his book, In Tune with the Infinite, and I am paraphrasing here. Know that the principles of the Lord will provide. He giveth liberally to all who put themselves in the right attitude to receive from him. He forces no good things upon anyone. In other words, if our mind is filled with thoughts of what others have and what we don't have, then even the Spirit that has an everlasting love for all of us and an infinite givingness in its nature cannot give to us. That is, provide for us in our mind an awareness of the right ideas, the right guidance, the right direction that will reveal to us the open door to opportunity or the right idea for us to increase our success and living standard. So let's go back to that again. When we read the word Lord in the Bible, it's speaking to our law of mind. In other words, it's speaking to our dominant belief system. Do we believe that the Lord will provide? Well, when we connect that word Lord, that principle, with the nature of the infinite, then we understand that all things have come from the infinite. All things have come from the one source, which is the intelligence, the power, and the Spirit of God, and that each and every one of us can look about us and we can see the evidence that this is the absolute truth. But we're going to allow, if we allow ourselves to believe that someone else can take away from us or someone else has too much and that's why we have less, then we are not working the principle. We're not believing in the Lord, which the Lord is, once again, our law, the law of our mind as it is connected with the law of God, which is a law of givingness. And we're going to stay right where we're at. God gives liberally to all who put themselves in the right attitude to receive from God. God forces no good things upon anyone. We have free will. We can think that thought, that someone else's wealth is diminishing our ability to be wealthy and successful and be provided for. Or we can have the right thought, the right attitude, that that's not true. Because it is this looking out at the world at what others have or may not have that increases the separation in our mind from our good. And this is true whether it relates to our wealth, to our health, our success, or our image of ourselves. The Washington Post opinion piece is filled with strong language that seeks to get us to accept what is written as the truth. For example, you'll have a better grasp of why the 99.9% really resent the 0.1%. And I don't resent anybody. I don't think a lot of people resent the wealthy. I don't get up in the morning and think about how much money the co-founder of Home Depot has. It just does not enter into my thought processes of what the billionaire co-founder of Home Depot has, or what the billionaire Donald Trump has, or the billionaire Bill Gates has, or Mark Zuckerberg has, or any of those people. It doesn't enter into my consciousness. All I know is their having wealth is evidence that there is a great abundance in the universe, that God has created so much abundance for all of us, and there's no lack of supply for all of us, and that we can just take it into our mind that my good can come to me through my consciousness because I am ready and willing to accept it, and I'm not going to limit or block or obstruct my good by believing that somehow somebody outside of me, being wealthy or being whatever, successful, takes anything away from me. So when she writes, you'll have a better grasp of why the 99.9% really resent the 1%, there's almost an implied thought here that if we don't grasp this nonsense, that there is something inferior in our thinking. I can't even imagine that someone could truly believe that 99.9% of the people resent those who are wealthy and successful. I just can't imagine it. It is a statement of such exaggeration that one would think it came from a politician's soundbite rather than from a journalist and published in a reputable newspaper's website. And Jeffrey Bezos, the founder of Amazon.com, purchased the Washington Post for $250 million. He purchased the Washington Post for $250 million. He is number 18 on Forbes magazine's list of millionaires. He's number 18 on the list of billionaires from Forbes magazine. This is back in 2014. His Amazon.com was founded in 1994, and he began in 1995 selling books on the Internet. It was an idea, and the idea was so appealing to him that he left his job on Wall Street, moved to Seattle, and started the business in the garage of his home in Bellevue, Washington. It is kind of a perfect irony that this billionaire is paying the salary of this opinion writer who is fostering the idea that we should feel justified in resenting people like him, But let's think about wealth. Let's think about money. The only thing that makes any value, that gives wealth or money any power, is what we do with it. I'm sure that Jeffrey Bezos was very enthusiastic about this new idea, this new venture. So many times people get ideas and they don't act on them. That's what Dr. Bitzer, the founder of the Hollywood Church, said, that so many people get ideas that the infinite brings us the idea, but out of fear or out of doubt about the uncertainty, people don't act on their ideas, and so they never go any further with the idea than to have the idea come into their mind, and they have that moment of being enthusiastic, or that moment of thinking, oh, this would be wonderful, but they don't act on it to make it wonderful. Jeffrey Bezos, the founder of Amazon.com, look at what he did. He left his job on Wall Street, moved to Seattle, and started the business in the garage of his home in Bellevue, Washington, selling books on the Internet. This is back in 1995. At that point, the Internet was very new. But very few people were willing to give up all that they had known and all that they had been successful at to go try new ideas. But he did. He did. And now he's the owner. He paid $250 million for the Washington Post. He's the owner of the Washington Post. The Starbucks CEO, this is back in 2014, donated $30 million to support PTSD research for veterans. And not only that, the Starbucks CEOs have given even more than that. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation gives money to improve water, to improve health all across the globe. I can remember reading an article where Bill Gates was talking about a toilet that doesn't use water, because so many of the things that cause ill health and disease in some of these third world countries is because they have no real bathroom facilities or ways in which to eliminate the waste from the human body. And so when you think about how these people use their wealth, that's where their real happiness is. It's from using it to make the world a better place for other people. It's not sitting on their money and doing nothing with it, because the people that sit on their money and hoard their money, they do it out of fear. So we go back to the young man, the wealthy young man in the Holy Scriptures and the Gospels, that Jesus said, give up all that you have, give it to the poor, or let it go, have a garage sale, whatever you want to do, but give it up and follow me. But the young man was so attached, the young wealthy man was so attached to his material wealth that he wouldn't follow Jesus. But Jesus was going to tell him, you can have this and you can have greater things still. But the man couldn't give it up. So he kept and held on to those things that rust and moth moths will eat up and diminish. And we know what depreciation is about. We know that you could have something today that's worth a couch that's worth $5,000. And 3 years from now, you can put it in a garage sale and you'd be lucky to get 50. We know that. So we know that everything material stagnates and diminishes in value to a great extent, but that which is within us, that power within us that attaches itself to the nature of God and believes in the abundance and believes that God is our source, and that how we make use of the good that God brings into our life determines whether that good is increased or multiplied. We have a greater enthusiasm for life. We have a more excitement for life, a more excited feeling for life. Can you imagine Jeffrey Bezos leaving New York City and Wall Street, going all the way to Seattle? I mean, that's way across the country, and setting up a business to sell books on the internet, to sell books, Amazon.com. I remember when I first saw that name, Amazon.com, I thought, what in the world caused him to use that name? So he started his business in the garage of his home in Bellevue, Washington. And isn't it? And once again, it's a perfect irony that this billionaire is paying the salary of this opinion writer who is fostering the idea that we should feel justified in resenting him. So let's look at these words from Dr. Joseph Murphy in one of his widely popular books. It's titled, Think Yourself Rich. This is Dr. Joseph Murphy. He wrote this in the 60s. He wrote, your thought is the most powerful instrument you have to work with, infinitely more powerful than the latest computer. It pays fabulous dividends to learn to direct your thoughts wisely, constructively, and judiciously. Your thought works with mathematical exactitude. It creates limitation and lack if you dwell on ideas of poverty, and it brings expansion and growth and prosperity when you think along these lines. Excuse me. Begin to think of the untold riches around you, waiting for the intelligence of humankind to reveal them. There is a guiding principle within you that, when called upon, will reveal to you the riches you are seeking. Now, the same principle works for health. It works for happiness and joy. It works for creative expression. It works for success. So it's how we use our mind. That's why Jesus was telling the people, if you believe that you have, you will have even more. If you believe that you have not, then you will even lose what little you may have. It's the law of mind, which is the law of God. So let's go back and look at these words one more time from the great Dr. Joseph Murphy. Remember, he wrote that powerful book. It's a global bestseller, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. He writes, your thought is the most powerful instrument you have to work with, infinitely more powerful than the latest computer. It pays fabulous dividends to learn to redirect your thoughts wisely, to direct your thoughts constructively, and to direct your thoughts judiciously. Your thought works with mathematical exactitude. It creates limitation and lack if you dwell on ideas of poverty. And it brings expansion and growth and prosperity when you think along those lines. Begin to think of the untold riches all around you, waiting for the intelligence of humankind to reveal them. There is a guiding principle within you that, when called upon, will reveal to you the riches you are seeking. Why? Because if we can conceive of it, we can achieve it. We can achieve it as long as it takes nothing away from anyone else, nor diminishes anyone in any way, shape, or form, including ourselves. We can receive that which we can believe to be true for us. It's done unto you as you believe, the mastermind Jesus said, and that was the truth. Also written about in the Bhagavad Gita, which was written 1,500 years before Jesus became the great teacher that got us all going on believing in ourselves and believing in our oneness with God, believing in the lovingness of God, the givingness of God, the livingness of God as it moves through our life expression happiness and joy and peace and harmony and beauty, all those things that come to our awareness is God, infinite spirit, moving through our mind, our heart, and our soul. That's why we read in the Scripture that God doesn't judge in the way that man judges or mankind judges. God judges the heart, always judging the heart. So to think that because someone else is tremendously wealthy limits our ability and potential for wealth and success is limited thinking that will lead to a financial disaster. When it comes to your attention that someone is wealthy, for example, a multimillionaire or a billionaire, a Jeffrey Bezos, a Bill Gates, a Warren Buffett, or any one of the Walmart family, Ken Langone of Home Depot and Tom Perkins, bless them and go even one step further in your mind, as Reverend Ike did. Reverend Ike, the well-known evangelist from New York City, used to tell us, he said, remember that as a poor preacher, I used to walk by good restaurants and homes and automobiles and clothing establishments and say out loud, that's for me, that's for me. Allow fancy homes and banks and fine stores and showrooms of all kinds and yachts to give you pleasure. Recognize that all of this is part of your abundance, and you are increasing your consciousness to partake of those things if you desire. If you see well-dressed people, think, isn't it wonderful that they are so abundant? Because there is plenty for all of us. And keep on keeping on until that right idea for you is revealed to you. And so it is, amen. And so it is, amen. So once again, I want to thank you for